Good evening and welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host Sam Oni, and with me tonight is Wes Fivman. Wes, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks, Sam. Been a busy last couple of weeks. Not so much in F1, but for me, it's certainly been a busy last couple of weeks. Voted today, good deed for the day, ticked off. Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very well. Like you said, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had some F1. I don't know what it is, but even though we're just what 4, 5 races into the season, it feels like such a long time, and I feel this is going to be a very, very long season to be honest. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So let's jump into it. The last race we had was in China, the Chinese Grand Prix. And to be honest with you, it wasn't that great from a action point perspective. Uh, when you saw the race highlights, what did you think were the talking points, or was there anything to talk about in that race other than Max Verstappen winning
Yeah,
again?
I mean, yeah, shock horror, Verstappen wins again. Um, I mean, yeah, it's obviously the first time we've had a Chinese Grand Prix in quite some time, obviously mainly because of COVID, really, isn't it? The last one was in 2019. Yeah, Verstappen won, obviously his first win in China. He wouldn't have obviously had the sort of chance to win there before, I suppose. Yeah, Norris P2, another fantastic result for him. Perez P3. I was sort of hoping for Alonso to be up there as well. He had a cracking start, did Alonso. He got P2 after the
Yeah,
first corner, overtaking Perez. Um, Slipped down. I think he finished like seventh or eighth in the end. Alonso, yeah, P8. But a fantastic moment where I think he was chasing Hamilton. I can't remember what lap it was. But I mean, we've probably all seen it on social media. It went all over. Like F1 tweeted it, Sky everywhere tweeted it. Um, yeah, coming through the last corner, he dips a wheel into the gravel, goes into like a power slide, and obviously saved it. It's a fantastic piece of driving, hugely skillful. And the best part, he loses basically no time to Hamilton. He's right back on his tail, going into into the sort of snail section in turn one, turn two. It was remarkable. And yeah, I suppose the other main bit is Stroll and Ricardo, that sort of concertina effect, where I think it was actually Fernando Alonso who locked up and sort of caused this the concertina accordion effect, whatever you want to call it. Where I think it was Russell and Piastri were the next two in line, both had to slam on the brakes. Then Ricardo, and then you have Stroll, who didn't really slam on his brakes at all and went into the into the
yeah.
back of Ricardo. Um, I think he felt a bit hard done by. I think he got a 10-second penalty in the end and was a bit cheesed off with that. But what I love about that is Piastri's quote after the race when he was asked about it, and he basically said, well, like, obviously Stroll was the only one to crash out of the 4 or 5 cars that were involved, and he basically said, well, everyone else had to brake, but we didn't crash into each other. Stroll was the only one to cause a collision, and obviously it knocked Ricardo out of the race as well. Um, so yeah, a bit of some cheek from Oscar Piastri there, but I think it is also a fair point. I think really you have 3 or 4 cars who manage to avoid each other, and then in comes Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin in his 8th season in Formula One, who
Has it
doesn't
been
have the
that long?
time. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure it's his 8th season. Yeah, he's obviously started off with Williams and then Racing Point and now Aston Martin. So it's been a while. Yeah. Um,
Gosh. Wow.
yeah, Stroll for whatever reason couldn't slam on the brakes in time. Which I know it's difficult with a concertina effect because like one car brakes and it's hard to sort of describe it really, but you essentially have
Yeah.
less and less time for the car behind the other to react. So it's sort of playing on Stroll's part a bit, but at the same time, Piastri is is kind of right. No one else crashed into each other. Um, but yeah, as I say, other than that, it was a pretty bog standard race for this season. Really, Verstappen won by 14 seconds. I think not his biggest margin, but certainly certainly big enough. Norris P2, as I mentioned, great result. Perez P3. Hamilton quietly a decent result, you could say, having started in P19 to get into the top 10. Was it 9th he finished in? Yeah, P9, Stroll P10. And Zhou Guanyu 14th in his home Grand Prix, and I love that F1 sort of had this spot on the start finish line for him to get out and just sort of take in the crowd, because was he the first Chinese driver in Formula One history, and China hasn't had a Grand Prix since 2019 as well. So that was a really nice moment for him. But yeah, China, not the most exciting race, not the most boring. Some interesting moments, as I mentioned, but yeah, another Verstappen win is is all you can really say, I suppose.
So we've had Australia, we've had Bahrain, we've had Saudi Arabia, we've had Japan, and now China. So that's 5 out of 24. And so we go from Asia, crossing all the way to the Pacific, if my geography is correct, and into
Depends which way they
North
go around,
America.
I suppose.
Sorry?
Depends which way they go, I suppose. They could fly all the way. It makes sense to go over the Pacific because you're not going. There's no borders that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So into North America for the Miami Grand Prix, the first of 3 American races. Wow. Well, Miami for the 3rd time. I can't believe it's the 3rd time Miami's racing. I literally thought it was just last year that it had its debut.
Maybe the first year was that boring that we just forgot it happened.
Who remembers the artificial Mary? How do you say it again? You know the place with the boats like Monaco. Is it
Oh, the
Marina?
Marina,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Gosh. Well, the Miami Grand Prix is back again, and what are you expecting from the Miami Grand Prix? Are we expecting any?
Verstappen win.
Stating the obvious, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think?
I'm not really sure. There's not really a lot to sort of go by, is there? I mean, obviously 2 races. Verstappen's won both. Obviously Red Bull won both as well. I'm just trying to sort of podium last year. Perez 2nd, Alonso 3rd. Interesting. And then 2022 was the race result. Yeah, both Ferraris on the podium as well. Yeah, off the basis of what's happened this season, well, again, I wouldn't be surprised to see Norris up there as well. Obviously had a great weekend a couple of weekends ago in China. I think he's sitting 5th in the drivers' standings at the moment. Obviously behind the 2 Red Bulls and the 2 Ferraris. And he's only 11 points behind Carlos Sainz as well. So yeah, I'd like to see him sort of challenging for those podiums again. Or again.
Do you reckon McLaren, in particular Norris, can win a race this season? Because he has said in the past that McLaren can challenge or want to challenge for race wins.
I certainly think it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially if, like we saw in Australia, Verstappen has an issue of some sort. It might take something like that for McLaren and obviously the Ferraris as well to win a race this season, because Red Bull and obviously Verstappen in particular are just so dominant at the moment. Yeah, it's certainly possible. I would love to see obviously Norris get his first race win. I think he got pole in the sprint in China, didn't he? And then I think Verstappen just walked away with it from there. Really, I think Hamilton had a pretty good sprint race as well, from what I remember. Yeah, it's just that can Norris sort of, can't remember what that, get whatever it is off his back. I can't remember the word for it. But yeah, it's sort of when he can win that first race rather than an if, isn't it? And see, the way he's been performing this season certainly shows he has the credentials for the race win, like he showed in Russia. What was it, a few years ago now? but it was sort of his ego got the better of him then. So obviously a few years older now, slightly more mature, and obviously learned from experiences of the past. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd like to think he or Piastri can win a race. Piastri's doing pretty well as well. I mean, he's in 6th place. Yes, he's 20 points behind Norris, but he's still ahead of the Mercedes and the Aston Martins. The way McLaren have been doing, they're 3rd place, sitting pretty comfortably in the constructors as well. As I say, if all it takes is like a Red Bull retirement, an issue of some sort, an accident somewhere between Verstappen or Perez and someone else, then yeah, the Ferraris and the McLarens are best placed to pick up the pieces, and yeah, we may well see a McLaren race win this year.
So Miami, what are your predictions for the race? Who have you got for your pole sitter, your race winner, and your driver of the day?
Pole sitter, I'm going to go Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
Not Max Verstappen for some unknown reason. I just want to spice it up a bit. Race runner, I think, will be Max Verstappen. But I'm going to go Sainz 2nd, Norris 3rd on the podium. You got three different teams on the constructors. On the constructors on the podium.
Okay.
Will that be the first time this season there'll be 3 different teams on the podium? I'm just going to check that. I can't remember now. I know obviously Red Bull have had 1-2s, and yes, it would be actually. Yeah, you've got Red Bull, Ferrari for the first 2 races. Ferrari, McLaren.
Yeah.
In Australia, Red Bull, Ferrari in Japan, and Red Bull, McLaren in China. So yeah, 3 different teams on the podium would be nice. So yeah, I'm going Verstappen P1. Let's say Sainz P2, Norris P3 is my prediction.
Okay. Driver of the day. Who do I feel will have a good race? You're gonna have to come. I'll come back on that one. Well, pole sitter. Pole sitter, Charles Leclerc. I think Charles Leclerc just needs to try and get it together, and just get himself in good race motion. I'm not saying that he hasn't, this season, but just to keep that Ferrari close to the Red Bull team, and getting pole in Miami would be a great achievement. Race winner, Verstappen, again. And driver of the day, I'm just gonna chuck it out there. Let's go with Piastri. A nice top 5 finish. So P1 Verstappen, P2 Leclerc, P3 Ferrari. I think Ferrari will get double points on the podium. And in fact, speaking of Ferrari have a new one-off livery and new overalls. They've gone from their iconic red to blue, all blue overalls. I've seen it on social media, and I like it, except for one thing. Speaking on the car first, I love the blue. I love the red because it's Ferrari, However, I do not like the HP brand on the car. Why am I seeing 5? I'm seeing the brand logo HP at least 4 times, if not more. Why?
Money talks, doesn't it?
It's too much.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have seen something on social media, and it's just circled all the HP logos, and I think there's as you say, 3 or 4 either side of the car as well. It has to be symmetrical. But I mean, they've obviously paid big bucks of HP to get their logo on that car, and they've picked out some pretty prominent positions. But yeah, with the HP logo's blue as well, so there's even more blue on the car than there was even without the special livery where they got the sort of blue, isn't it, like stripes on the side pods or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that they were sort of teasing it, and I saw some people were like expecting Ferrari to just do an all blue car, which I don't.
That's what I
Blue and
thought. I
blue
thought it
and
was going to
yeah.
be an all blue car. Yeah.
No, I can see like a navy blue Ferrari. I don't see like a pastel duck egg blue sort of Ferrari, which is sort of the color they've gone with. It just seems very weird to think of a Ferrari in anything other than the traditional red that we see it.
Yeah.
Maybe a yellow. Yeah, I mean, the livery itself, I think, is actually all right. It's just something
Yeah.
a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for a one-off, I'd say it looks decent. Not as decent
I like it.
as RB's. That is one of the best liveries I think we've seen in a long, long time. I think.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of the old Instagram logo with all the different colours on there. But no, yeah, RB's. If you haven't seen it, please do go and look at it. It is fantastic, I think, and they had a pretty good livery anyway with the sort of old Toro Rosso vibes,
Yeah.
red, white, and blue. And yeah, Miami, they've just gone full on sort of color gradient. They've learned how to use the gradient thing in Photoshop, I think they have. But yeah, fair play to them. They have done it really, really well, and it
Yeah.
is a car that is definitely gonna stand out this weekend in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting back to well, yeah, as I say, both liveries I think are pretty good, Ferraris and RBs, but certainly RBs does take the gold medal for this weekend.
If you had to pick one between the Ferrari one and the RB one, like the best looking car, you can only pick one. Which one would you pick?
100% RBs. It's just so out there and different, and yet it still works. You know, it's not like Alpines, for example, where yes, it fits their sort of color scheme and stuff and brand and stuff like that. Yeah, RBs is just it's completely different, but it still works. It's not like when we first saw the pink Racing Points and the Force Indias introduced, and just like, okay, wow, that is quite different. It just I don't know how to explain it, but it just looks good and it just works for some reason. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it is a fantastic livery, RB. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want it all the time because I think their standard livery is a fantastic livery anyway. But yeah, this one-off one is certainly ticks all the boxes that you sort of want for a one-off to be sort of stand out, promote whatever they want to promote, and it is fantastic, really, isn't it?
It is. I really like it, but I don't know. I still prefer the Ferrari one. I don't know why. But I think
The Ferrari one's a lot more subtle, isn't it? They've just got some subtle blue. Well, I say subtle blues. There's quite a contrast with the colours on the car, but there's less done to the Ferrari one. But as you say, it still looks really, really good. Whereas RB have just got a completely different different livery overall. Yeah, Ferrari's is still good, isn't it?
So in other news in F1, it was announced earlier this week that Nico Hulkenberg will be leaving Haas at the end of the season and moving to Sauber. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good move for Nico Hulkenberg. Obviously, with Sauber for next year, and then obviously the new team, Audi. Well, not really a new team, but new constructor title sponsor. You could, sort of like Alfa Romeo was when they took over Sauber. And yeah, they've got funny enough, another car company taking over Sauber. But it'll be completely different to sort of the Sauber we know now. I can't remember how many sort of iterations of the Sauber team we've had, but was it with BMW Sauber, 15, 20 years ago? Just Sauber. We've had, I think they've had Ferrari engines for quite a while. Obviously Alfa Romeo Sauber. Now Stake Kick, whatever the hell it is, Sauber. And yeah, in a couple of years' time, it's going to be Audi Sauber. So German driving for a German mark, if you like. I don't know if the team will be German. It's still like a Swiss team, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's a really, really good move, and it'll be interesting to see what Audi sort of bring to the table, how far they can push Sauber up that constructors' standings, if you like. Currently, they're 7th, 8th, 9th, obviously towards the back of the pack. Yeah, obviously Audi with a huge, obviously motorsport pedigree. Audi Quattro, one of the finest rally cars of all time. They've got vast amounts of experience in endurance racing as well. Obviously not so much. I think this is their first venture into F1, Audi. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off a really good car from 2026 with the new regulations, and we see top 10s from Sauber pretty regularly. But it'll be interesting to see which one of Bottas or Joe misses out, because that hasn't been announced yet, I don't think, which one of them will be leaving. To be honest, I'm not sure which one I want to see leave, or which one I want to stay, rather, because I think they're both pretty good drivers. Obviously, Bottas has got obviously vastly more experience, but I mean, Hulkenberg himself is a pretty experienced driver. I can't remember how old Bottas is, but he's got to be sort of early to mid 30s. It's been the same with Hulkenberg, I reckon. Whereas obviously Zhou Guanyu is still quite young.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see which one Sauber keeps, and interesting to see where the other one goes if they do stay in F1. I feel like Bottas is just sort of having fun, not taking things too seriously, is sort of been and done F1, especially with the top teams. Like obviously had that 5-year stint with Mercedes, pretty much just going from 1-year contract to 1-year contract, which wasn't really that good for him. But yeah, he's now just sort of enjoying F1 again a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas you've obviously got Zhou Guanyu fighting or wanting to fight his way up the grid, if you like, wanting to sort of make his way through, sort of go from the back, sort of like what George Russell did and Charles Leclerc in something at start at one of the back markets, move your way up into one of the big 3-4 teams. So yeah, it's two drivers at completely different stages of their career, and as I say, yeah, it'll be interesting to see which one Sauber keeps. I'm not sure who I would keep if I was in their situation, but yeah, as I say, Hulkenberg, I think it's a really smart move and a really good move on him, and hopefully he can get that long-awaited podium when he does sign for Sauber / Audi.
I mean, everything you've just said there, it just what was coming to my mind was just the driver lineups for 2025, because although we have an idea of who's going where, nothing's confirmed, because you don't know because you don't know who's going to partner George Russell in the Mercedes for 2025. There are still question marks surrounding Red Bull's second seat with Sergio Perez. Does he stay or does he go? I mean, only Ferrari we know is pretty much locked in with Charles Leclerc and the arrival of Lewis Hamilton, driving with the Italian team. But yeah, it's gonna be. I'm really excited. And speaking of driver shake up, Adrian Newey, who's not a driver but an F1 engineer, it's confirmed that he's gonna leave Red Bull in early 2025. What are your thoughts on this?
It's interesting. I don't think he's leaving sort of Red Bull as a whole. He's not like moving teams or anything. He's moving from essentially F1 into the hypercar stuff. So Le Mans sort of racing, endurance racing, I think. Yeah, I mean, he is, I suppose, without question, really, the greatest designer F1 has ever seen. I mean, I think his autobiography or biography, whatever it is called How to Build a Car or something, and I think that just sums him up. He has been a fantastic designer, complete master of aerodynamics. I mean, it's showing it now with Red Bull being by far the most dominant team. I think he was with Ferrari when Schumacher won all his titles as well. Yeah, it'll be a huge loss to F1, but who knows, maybe we might see a bit of I wouldn't say a shake-up, but more teams challenging Red Bull next season. But I suppose by then, early 2025, the car's already been designed by that point, I guess. So maybe not, but certainly from 2026 when he's not involved with the F1 sort of organisation of it all, and obviously with the new regulations as well, it is going to be very, very interesting now that he's not going to be with the team. It'd be interesting to see what he does with the new hypercar. I think it's called the RB17 or something that they're gonna that they're gonna enter. But yeah, I mean, going off the BBC sport article, we're saying his next team has not been decided, but Ferrari are hot favourites to sign him. That was yesterday, 1st of May, at time of recording. So yeah, I mean, whether he signs for another F1 team after doing the hypercar stuff, I mean, whether Red Bull are just saying that to sort of cover their backs and sort of not cause too much of a of a storm, who knows? But yeah, I mean, he's going to stay in sort of designing cars, isn't he? That's just what he does. As he's going to win trophies no matter where he goes, I suppose. Yeah, it'll be a huge loss for Formula One, and yeah, if I was another F1 team, I'd be as well, desperately ringing Adrian Newey's number to try and work out a deal for 2026 whenever he's free from Red Bull, or yeah, from sort of early 2025, I suppose.
So, if you're Adrian Newey and you have 3 contracts from Ferrari, Aston Martin, and McLaren, which one do you sign? Which paper? Where do you go to? Who do you sign for?
I mean, for me, it'd be McLaren, but obviously I'm biased as a McLaren fan. But as we've seen with Lewis Hamilton, anyone in Formula One wants to work for Ferrari at some point, don't they? It just is the most historical team out there. It's got the most Formula One pedigree, and it would just be Ferrari if I were Adrian Newey, that's for sure. Yeah, whether he will is going to take. I don't think we'll see him sign for an F1 team soon. I don't think we'll know about that until he's done with the Red Bull hypercar stuff. But he is also 65, so whether we do get to see him in F1 again remains to be seen. Yeah, if I were Ferrari, I'd be just trying everything I could to get Adrian Newey to sign on the dotted line, offer him whatever he wants, give him a house in Monaco, a yacht, a free latest spec Ferrari, give him anything he wants to try and get him, to try and win Leclerc and Hamilton a championship in 2026.
The last time Ferrari won a driver's title was 2007, I believe.
8, I think, with Kimi.
Kimi Räikkönen, yes.
No, yeah, you're right. 7. 08 was Hamilton.
2007.
My dates mixed up. Yeah, you are right.
Yeah. But yeah, Miami this weekend, I believe, is a sprint race. No, it's not. Sorry, my bad. No. Normal race weekend. But next time when we're back, we'll talk about whether we should have more sprint races and more points in the F1 system. Ooh. But well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of the F1Stop show. I've been your host, Sam Oney, and this is goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And we hope you enjoy the Miami Grand Prix this weekend.